reinvented extension cord. Something that's been around since 1935, what did you do to it? Well, number one thing is we made it to where it's a better cord for the industry because of the safety side of it, the economic side of it, and the longevity. And most of the time, these things they're treated like toilet paper. They just throw them away and they get another one because they don't last. I was on the end user part of it and realized that. And after about 2 weeks in the one job that we did at a steam plant, I went through 9 cords in a week and a half. Well, that was right at $1,000. And you know, for an end user, that's a lot of money, plus that affected my bonuses and stuff in the construction world. Little did we know that the construction world was just like if you stand at a pond or a lake and you just put your finger in it and the ripples go. Where we stuck our finger in it was construction, and now the ripples are growing. Wherever we go and whoever sees it, whether it's restaurants, hotels, nuclear power plants, steam power plants, construction, industrial fields, and then just like the other day they literally run me through 6 boat manufacturers. And they're screaming to get this into their industry. There's a barrier, there's a point. It's a great invention, everybody uses them, but there's a price point, and we're going to get to that as far as the economic side of it. We're going to go through all the goodies, and then on the economic side of it, it makes sense, but you got to get to the person that's actually figuring out what the economics mean to where it balances out for them. So if you do, when you look at the cord, if you'll grab it, we'll just kind of go through the parts and the pieces real quick. But the one thing that we were able to do on the male end, you've got a ground pin, which is the one that you're looking at now is brass. The 2 silver pieces are the blades that we call. On the ground pin itself is the one thing that breaks off. No matter if you plug it in from an appliance to a wall, or if you're out in the field, when you're plugging it up and unplugging it, it could just break. Very simple. It's like a Coca-Cola pop top. The ground pin that's out there, and it's in about the 2nd or 3rd page inside that article, but if you'll look at this ground pin, it's a rolled over piece of metal, and it's got a hole punched right at the weak spot, right at the point of connectivity, which is what we did. We took an old cord that was out there and we did a notch out of it. This right here is their anchoring point that they have, just about 1/4 of an inch, and it's right where that hole is in the ground pin. So I'm gonna pass that around, let you look at it, let you see the hole that's in there, let you know that what I'm telling you is not a lie. But this is what you normally see when you unplug a cord, no matter where you go, whether it's a microwave or an extension cord. This is the thing that you normally see. You see 2 blades missing the ground pin. The key thing on an extension cord is the grounding. Who does the marina? Okay. Is grounding important?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a guy call me this week that told me it wasn't the most important part of an extension cord. And this is a safety guy. That's really got me scared. So I wanted to make sure that I was still thinking on the same wavelength, that ground pins in an extension cord, when they would come to our job site, you're looking at a minimum of anywhere between $150 all the way up to $7,000 fine, depending on the size of a company, depending on the size of whatever the industry is. And believe you me, if the federal government can get in there and find something where they can hit you, that's where they're going to hit people at. So that's the main impact. When people will say, well, you know what, I've not had OSHA around here in 10 years. Just takes one time. It takes one time for a fine. Well, let's not think about the fine. Let's think about somebody getting electrocuted. One person getting electrocuted, is it worth it? Is it worth saving what they're thinking in their mindset? They're buying a 100-foot extension cord out there from $50 to $70. Is it worth it to lose a life over? But when you annualize it, we actually will show you in a little bit, it saves them money. Although our cord is twice the price, it's still going to save them money at the end of the year because of the longevity that we're able to build into it. So that ground pin with our cord, you're not going to see this. You're going to see our ground pin always in play. We made it where it's solid, more durable, and what I showed you about the anchoring, about 1/4 of an inch, ours is embedded in there well over 3/4 of an inch. If you look down inside to the plug itself, you can see the anchoring device that we've put in there. And what it's able to do is to be anchored in there to where it cannot be broken. Now we've challenged several people. If you can break the ground pin, we'll give you $100. So if anybody wants to take the challenge now and do that, you're more than welcome to try. But if you can break it with your hands. Don't put it between your feet or whatever, but you're more than welcome to give it a whirl if you want to.
Is it standardized, the reason why all the drop cords are using that particular type of design?
Yes, on an extension cord, it's earmarked as a temporary power source. Now, do you have to have the ground pin all the time? No, you don't. There's some tools out there that just have a two-bladed system, which means it's double insulated. So you don't have to have the ground pin for say probably 20% of the products that are out there. But the other 80%, so that's the reason why they said, hey, let's have it. Better to have it than not need it, you know, than to need it and not have it.
But all construction and industrial companies need to have the ground pin.
They need to have it in there. And then plugging up your devices and stuff in there where it's got the ground pin and where you're grounded, you just know that you're safe. So inside that male component, what we've been able to do with ours that nobody else does, ground pin being solid, ground pin being anchored, ground pin not breaking. Ground pins break between 4 to 6 weeks. And that's what we've been told all across America where we've been. We've traveled from one side to the other, north and south. When you plug our cord in, what you normally see is the female end. Always has a light on it. It's been that way for years. Ours is the only one out there that has the male end light that indicates to you, and this is what's really crucial for nuclear and the power plants, is that ground light indicator. That green light lets you know right as soon as I plugged that cord in, as soon as it was plugged into the multi-outlet box, that it was grounded. And it's kind of an idiot-proof deal. Well, what TVA said, Rick, if you'll put this 3 letters on there, GCM, what that's going to do, we're no longer going to have to do like you were saying on the inspections where they do it monthly. They actually unplug the cords every month. They bring it down to the maintenance shop. Maintenance shops come in on the weekends. They go through everybody's cord. They change the color of tape. Everybody gets a tag. This month's tape is orange. Next month's tape may be blue. Next month's tape may be black. Whatever that color is, that's what it tells them. Now they don't have to do that. The actual supervisor can walk by there, know that that cord is grounded, know that that cord is safe, and that's what they're all about, is making sure that it's grounded, because normally they try to protect the rest of it. Every once in a while they'll get out there, from what I've been told from the guys out at, the ones that were out at Watts Bar, that they protect the rest of it as far as the jacketing and stuff is concerned. But the safety director, when they brought him over and he saw that green light that was lit up on the male end, he flipped out and he wanted it. And then the next thing you know, the other 2 guys said, hey, get a hold of Tammy, get a hold of Frham, get them out there. So then the ripple starts growing with us, from going from what we did with steam power plants now to the nuclear power plants. And then whoever else y'all's ripples go out to, that's how this gets affected. And it does take a little bit of time. It's not a process where they just get it right off the bat, because it's been, the disposable is just like, just like I said, going and buying a package of toilet paper. Whatever roll of toilet paper is cheaper. I've got a family of 7. When I go buy toilet paper, I try to find the one that's got the smallest inner roll with as much toilet paper on the outside. Most people don't look at it that way. They look at the price. They don't worry about that they made that cardboard center bigger. That's what they've done to this right here. When you see all these different color cords, I'm going to show you the deception here in just a second. I don't know how many of you have ever paid attention to toilet paper rolls and how they do that. When you go in there, you'll see some that are smaller, you get more toilet paper on it. And your money, you get more bang for your buck. That's what we're fixing to show about this. Ground pin don't separate. The ground light indicator, solid pins, solid blades, being crimped and soldered. So right here, I'm going to pass this around. These is what we're talking about, solid blades. This is a blade that you'll find in a cord. This is a 10-3 cord. The cord itself, this cord this size, is bigger, more expensive than what I'm holding in my hand. And it's made out of the components that they're passing around now of these. If you try to take the blades of ours and try to do what you can to bend them, you can't bend them like I'm fixing to do with this. I can take one finger and bend that blade over. I can take it and bend it to where I want to and break it. You can't take one finger and bend ours to where they're going to break. They may move a little bit on you, but they're not going to give in. And they're not the part that's always causing the problem as much as it is the ground pin. This is our blade that we have. It's all solid material. And what we do in there, we not only crimp it to the wires, but we also solder it to the wires. So that way when you plug it in to your source, whatever it is, whether it's a 15 amp circuit or a 20 amp circuit, you're going to get as much continuity as you possibly can out of any cord that's out there. And that's where a lot of them do their droppage, is when they start from the very beginning to get to the end, they already start breaking down, because on what they do inside of theirs is they just crimp the wires, and most of the time all of them don't get inside that encasement when they do that. And when they don't, then you start losing and breaking down voltage, breaking down your amperage and losing it. And then the blade, wherever the blade got off to, that little spot that we have in there, that gap that so easily happens between the two, it starts overheating the cord. And you'll start noticing the cord start looking like spaghetti noodles or spiraling or looking all twisted up. Most people say, well, that's because we're rolling it up this way. That's not the case. It's overheating because it's breaking down. And what they've done there is they've just crimped the wires. They didn't solder them. It's a folded over piece of metal. And for what reason they do it for, y'all just have to think about it. But we look at it as a deception thing. You know, they make you think, because this cord that you hold in your hand, is that cord fatter and bigger around than this is? Mm-hmm. Which cord do you think is better? If you're going to the store, which one?
You would think
okay.
that.
Well, we're gonna break that down here in a minute as well. So, and it's the true thing. We all look at this thinking that this is a better cord. This is what we've been told in the industry. This cord's better, will carry more and do more, but that's not the case. It depends on if the inner guts is equal to its counterpart that's out there. So if you'll look in the ends, what we've been able to do, the number one thing is a ground pin always breaking. Number one find in electrical. It's one of the Focus 4 that they have out there with OSHA. The second thing that happens, if you look at that detention ring that's in there, the jacket will separate from the housing, number 2. If things don't happen in 6 weeks with the ground pin breaking, the jacket will pull loose. The only difference, but the main difference that we have, a jacket retention device that they do is they basically go from a molded piece, from a larger piece of mold to a smaller, is what they call it to be their jacket retention. It's vinyl, it's rubber. If you pull that thing back and forth, you'll be able to see the gaps and how easy, eventually what that will do with the heat and cold will constrict and retract. It'll start pulling itself out. Ours is molded into the jacket with a ring that we put inside there. It's got a 360-degree bite on that jacket. And if you haven't yet, if you'll go to solidgroundcords.com or if you'll go to YouTube and look us up, so that you can show people, and this right here is this is what got TVA, is when I showed them that we actually hook 2 trucks between these two and we pull the trucks. Okay, to show them there's several things that you can say about that. We try to let people know that our housing is not going to separate from the jacket. The cable's not going to rip either, and it's not going to ruin the integrity of the cord. This cord right here has been run over. I'll hand it around here in just a second, but this cord here is the one I've had since the beginning. We've let people run over it. We've let people drive over it, take forklifts to it. They've done everything that they can try to do, and it's got some battle scars to it, but it's been now 16 months worth of me doing demos, plugging it up, taking a gentleman like yourself. If you'll grab that in, let's pull it tight. Okay. And then most of the time when you do that with a cord of any cord, it won't start coming undone. But if you'll notice, it's starting to get bigger and bigger inside the middle, and you'll never get it to undo. And when it gets to be undone, it would have a kink or a curl or something in it. And I've not got any pressure on it. Here in just a second, it'll go back to its regular form. I've done that probably 800 times. Y'all saw the cable before I got started. Most of the time, when you use a cord and you do that, you've destroyed it. And the reason being is, if you'll look at our cable, I'm going to hand this around. Our cable with the jacketing, we talked about the jacketing, not separating from the cable. That jacket is stronger than any other jacket that's out there. There's 4 stars, and we put the 4-star jacket on ours. SJTOOW, and that's very, very critical. Remember those letters. It's going to make you sound like you're very educated when you're trying to do your pitch. But it's simple.
Where is that again?
SJTOOW. The double O's stand for oil-resistant jacketing on the outside, and the conductors, which are your 3 wires on the inside. The jacketing around those as well are oil-resistant. Well, if they're oil-resistant, they're water-resistant. If they're oil-resistant, they're chemical-resistant. They're going to last longer than any other cord that's out there because it won't break down like these will that are made out of vinyl and made out of rubber. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand this one around, and look at how it's extruded as one. And then you'll be comparing